Galadriel's journey, how her story in the Rings of Power reflects and deviates from Tolkien's vision. Galadriel is one of the most intriguing characters in Tolkien's legendarium, evolving from a rebellious young elf in the Silmarillion to the wise and powerful ruler of Lothlorien we see in The Lord of the Rings. But how does her portrayal in the Rings of Power align with Tolkien's original vision? Today, we're diving into Galadriel's journey across the ages and exploring where the show reflects and sometimes deviates from the lore. Welcome to Merrifield Productions, your source for exploring the rich lore behind the Rings of Power and Tolkien's world. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into Middle-earth. Galadriel is no ordinary elf. From the moment she was born, she stood apart, blessed with both beauty and incredible power. But her story starts long before the events of the Rings of Power. In Tolkien's writings, Galadriel was a leader, even in her youth. During the First Age, she was bold, ambitious, and driven by a desire for knowledge and power. Her rebellion led her to leave Valinor, defying the Valar alongside her fellow Noldor elves. In the Rings of Power, we meet Galadriel as a fierce warrior, driven by a personal vendetta against Sauron, following the tragic death of her brother. While her desire for vengeance is unique to the show, Tolkien's Galadriel was also motivated by the memory of past wrongs, though her rebellion was against Morgoth, not his servant Sauron. Galadriel in the First and Second Ages. In Tolkien's writings, Galadriel plays a significant role in the events of both the First and Second Ages. During the First Age, she refused to participate in the kinslaying and rejected Feanor's destructive oath. She sought wisdom from those she encountered, like Melian in Doriath, rather than power through violence. By the Second Age, which is the period the Rings of Power explores, Galadriel is a leader among the Eldar. However, Tolkien never portrayed her as a soldier or warrior. Instead, she was a wise and strategic figure, aiding in the establishment of kingdoms like Eregion, where the Rings of Power were forged. So where does the Rings of Power diverge? The show takes creative liberties by presenting Galadriel as a battle-hardened commander. This version of Galadriel seeks to destroy Sauron through force, driven by personal loss. Tolkien's Galadriel, on the other hand, was more reserved by the Second Age, opting for subtlety and influence, which contrasts with the militaristic tone seen in the show. Galadriel's connection with Sauron. One of the most intriguing aspects of Galadriel's character in the Rings of Power is her connection to Sauron, disguised as Halbrand. Tolkien's Galadriel, however, had a more indirect relationship with Sauron during the Second Age. She distrusted him from the beginning, when he appeared in the fair form of Anatar, the Lord of Gifts, to deceive the elves of Eregion and teach them how to forge the Rings of Power. In the show, Galadriel senses something is off about Halbrand, but her interactions with him are much more personal and drawn out than in Tolkien's works. This adds dramatic tension for viewers, though in the lore, Galadriel is never directly deceived by Sauron. Tolkien wrote that Galadriel saw through Sauron's schemes from the start. She knew he could not be trusted, even when others like Celebrimbor fell under his spell. Her resistance to Sauron's lies makes her one of the few leaders to oppose him early on, a trait we don't see as clearly reflected in the show. Galadriel's power struggle and her inner conflict. In The Lord of the Rings, we see Galadriel's wisdom and restraint when she refuses the One Ring, recognizing its corrupting influence. But this restraint wasn't always present. Her early ambition was a driving force in her life, as she sought realms to rule and power to wield. The Rings of Power emphasizes this inner struggle by presenting a Galadriel who is still coming to terms with her own ambitions. Her quest for vengeance against Sauron reflects her grappling with power, just as Tolkien's Galadriel once did, though in a more philosophical sense. While Tolkien's Galadriel matures into a figure of serenity and wisdom by the Third Age, the show gives us a version of her still in the midst of this transformation. This makes her relatable for viewers, but also strays from her established character as we know her from the books. What's next for Galadriel in the Rings of Power? As we move forward in the Rings of Power, it's clear that Galadriel is still on a path of discovery. The show sets up her arc to eventually reflect the wise, powerful leader we know from The Lord of the Rings, but with a focus on personal vendettas and the pursuit of justice. Will the show continue to adapt her transformation from a warrior into a wise ruler? And how will her future relationship with Sauron evolve as we head toward the creation of the One Ring? Narrator, voiceover. Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Galadriel's journey remains at the heart of this adaptation. For fans of Tolkien's works, it's a fascinating exercise in comparing the original lore with this new interpretation. Narrator, voiceover. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Galadriel's character in the Rings of Power. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Tolkien's world, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Merrifield Productions for more content on the lore behind Middle-earth. And as always, let us know in the comments, what do you think of Galadriel's portrayal? Do you prefer the show's version or Tolkien's original vision? Until next time, may the light of Arendelle guide your way. Bye.